What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be going over all of the heads-up display elements in Blackout because there's quite a few and a lot of confusion surrounding this, as well as how to go through your inventory, what you can do with your inventory, and how to manage it most effectively. Now for people that have been playing this mode a lot, a bunch of this stuff is going to be painfully obvious to you, but even for those people that have grinded this quite a bit, there's probably a couple things that you didn't know that I'll be sharing in this video. Of course, one thing to keep in mind before we hop into this is the beta build of the game. Some of this stuff might change slightly for the full build of the game. I don't anticipate much of it changing, but it is a possibility that some things will change. So the first thing I want to go over is the minimap on the top left. My minimap might look a little bit different to your minimap here. You have the choice in Blackout between a round minimap and a square minimap. Now the default minimap is square, and with this one, the map remains fixed. So as you rotate your character, the map doesn't rotate with you. You're just an arrow that kind of rotates around the center of your map. When you switch it to the circular minimap, the map will rotate with you. So your arrow is always facing upwards. Now some of the pros and cons here, with the round minimap, you don't get as much coverage. You can't see quite as much of the map because you cut those corners off. So that's one of the downsides, but the upside to this is especially in team-based modes when you have multiple arrows on the minimap, I find it's much easier to tell which arrow I am if I have teammates near me with a rounded minimap because it rotates with me. With that fixed square minimap, sometimes I have a hard time distinguishing which arrow I am because I don't always immediately recognize which color I am, and then I have to look and see which color I am on the minimap, and that just takes a little bit of extra time that I feel is unnecessary, so I tend to lean towards that rounded minimap. This one's really based on personal preference. I'd recommend trying out both and just seeing how you feel about it. So now let's dive into a bunch of the other heads-up display elements. First up, as you're dropping, there's an important heads-up display element here that you don't see when you're on the ground, and that's on the right-hand side. You have that altimeter. So with this one, it does show your speed as you're coming down, which is very important to master. That's a different skill for a different video, though. But you'll see there's the white line on there. That's your altitude currently. Then we have the green line. This green line is the height that you're going to be opening your chute. So when the white line connects with the green line, that's when your chute will open. And below that, we've got the orange part of the meter. Now, the orange part of the meter represents the ground that's below you and the height that it is above sea level. When you're above water, there will be no orange whatsoever because that's the zero altitude, that's the sea level. And the important thing to note here is the green line will always hover at the exact same distance above the orange bar. This means that if you're over top of a mountain, for instance, that orange bar will be quite high, therefore it will push that green line up. Therefore, you will connect with that green line sooner, and your parachute would be opening earlier than it would if you were at sea level. Now, once you get on the ground, let's rapid fire through all of these heads-up display elements. A bunch of these will be super obvious, so we'll just blast through them, no explanation needed. First up, right up top in the middle, that's your compass. Really important for callouts in team-based game modes. You want to be able to call out the direction that shots are coming from, for instance, and that's the most effective way to find that. Then on the top right, we've got the kill feed. We've also got the number of players remaining, as well as a number of kills that you currently have. And if you're in a team-based game mode, there will be one more element up here with a little eyeball. This is how many people are currently spectating you. Now getting over to the left side, underneath the minimap, we have a countdown timer here. This countdown timer will show only when the circle isn't shrinking. And that timer represents the amount of time that you have before the circle starts to shrink. Now once that timer is up and the circle starts to shrink, you'll see a different heads-up display element here. The blue bar represents the collapse. I think that's what they call it in this game. It's not the storm, it's not the gas, they call it the collapse. But that represents that, and that will move towards you. The little running man represents you and your distance to the safe zone. So the further it is to the left, the further away you are from the safe zone. And that blue bar will approach the little running man. Once that blue bar reaches the running man, that means that the collapse has caught up with you. Now getting into the bottom left, you can see where it says 150 there. That is your current health amount, fairly obvious to most people. Right next to that, you have your health supplies. Your health supplies have their own separate inventory slot, and that's where they appear. Now right above that, you'll see the little white square. What that shows is it shows that you have multiple of that type. So in this case, it means I have, first off, those first aid kits that you can see there. There's 6 of them, but I have something else that's also a healing supply. I believe I had a med kit or something. And if I also had a trauma kit on top of that, you would see another one of those white squares. So this is just a handy indicator to show that you do have something else that you can use in that place. Right next to that, we have our armor slot, and in this game, I didn't get an armor right away. I was just trying to show you guys what the inventory looked like here, but you can see this is what an armor would look like, and it will actually show the type of armor you have as well. It's just a different picture. You'll end up learning that over time. Now, kicking it over to the right side, you'll see the backpack slot, and currently, at least in the beta build, the only thing that can go in this slot is a backpack. There's no small backpack or large backpack. It's just a standard backpack. Right next to that, we have our equipment slot, and as you can see, I also have 3 squares above there. That means I have 3 other pieces of equipment aside from that mesh mine that I have equipped. Beside that, we've got how many rounds we have in our magazine, which is 40 in this case, as well as our reserve ammo for that particular type of weapon, which is 200 in this case. And finally, on the far right-hand side, you'll see that the weapon that is currently in your hand, and this is the Maddox. Now, in team-based game modes, there's also one other thing I have to point out. When you're playing with a team, you will see the names of your teammates as well as their health bars on the left-hand side, and you can also see their status in-game to the left of their name. So you can see there, number 2 and 3, Rockhead and Enya, they're both dead, unfortunately, and they're completely dead. And then there's also Dark Kitsune, who's the number 1 player there. He will show up as an orange arrow on the minimap because that's his color down there, and you can also see that he's currently on an ATV because of that symbol right next to his name. So those are all the heads-up display elements for you guys. Hopefully you picked up something new there, but now let's get into something that's extremely important to master, and this is the use of your quick equip menu. This is something that a lot of people are intimidated about and they don't bother really trying and learning how it works. It's very important, and this will absolutely save your life and get you extra kills in a game if you use it effectively. So when you press up on your D-pad, you're going to come up with this menu. When you do that, you'll see a bunch of the items. You'll see your equipment, you'll see your consumables, and on the left-hand side, you'll also see how many meds you have if you have extra meds aside from what's already equipped. Once this quick equip menu is pulled up, you can scroll left and right over those items. And in the case of meds, for instance, if you scroll all the way to the left, if you hover over those med kits, let's just say I want to use a med kit rather than the first aid kits that were already equipped, I can scroll over there, and if I hit square, it will swap those. So now the med kit is available in my inventory, and then I can use the med kit instead of the first aid kit. As for the consumables part of this, which just show up in the middle, this is most effective for just quickly activating one of those consumables. You don't really swap them or anything, but you can activate them here really easily without opening up your full inventory menu. And finally, on the right-hand side, this is your equipment, and this behaves just like with the meds. If you want to swap out your mesh mine for a frag grenade, for instance, I can do that by just scrolling over and hitting square on the frag grenade. This is something that I really didn't understand at first, and I was intimidated to try and learn how to do it on the fly. But I would highly recommend practicing switching between things if you have some downtime, because in the middle of a fight, this can be very valuable to switch to a stun grenade or a frag grenade based on the situation, or same thing goes with your heals. If you want to switch to a different kind of a healing, it's very valuable to learn how to do this and learn how to do it very quickly. Now, finally, let's go into the full inventory menu. This is the one you get to by pressing start, and with this one, you can't see what's going on around you, so you don't want to be doing this too often in the middle of a game if you can avoid it. But you can see all of the items that you're currently carrying. You can hover over them and see whether you equip them or drop them, or what you can do with them. You can swap attachments out and everything for your gun here. And on the left side, you have all of your ammo. Now, one thing I wanted to point out with ammo is you can split your ammo, and I wanted to show how to do that. If you hold X, it will split your ammo in half immediately, and then you can scroll up and down to change the amount that you want to drop on the ground. This is really helpful in team-based modes if you want to drop a little bit of ammo for your teammates, but you don't want to drop all of that ammo type. Then play around with splitting ammo and dropping it. And this brings us to the last thing I'm going to share for you today. It's something I shared in my top 20 beginner tips video yesterday, but I thought it was worth mentioning in this video as well. I will leave a link to that top 20 tips if you guys are interested in seeing that. But with this, if you have a gun that you don't want anymore and you have some attachments on it, but you want those attachments, the fastest and most effective way to do this is hover over that gun with your cursor, hold square, and it will drop the gun as well as the attachments individually on the ground. This allows you to pick up the other gun that you want, and then you can equip the attachments onto that gun just by holding square while it's in your hands. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for all the heads-up display elements, as well as how to navigate your menus more effectively. I really hope you guys learned something new here, and this is going to help you improve overall. It is quite important to practice this, especially getting into your quick equip menu. It's quite important to practice that in game and be really comfortable with it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll talk to you guys next time.